Good evening, and welcome to Lord Gugu's stream. Consider becoming a subscriber today to access the exclusive Stephen Sondheim Twitch emote. Tonight's performance of Musical Theater is Good Actually will run approximately 90 minutes with one intermission, and tonight the role of guest will be played by Ben Vigeant. Please take this time to silence your cell phones and note all emergency exits. And please, do not stop the star of the show on his way into the theater and demand he recap his entire career up to that point. And now, sit back and enjoy. Musical Theater is Good Actually. It's good actually, so good actually. I think musical theater is good actually. It's Saturday. It's 8 p.m. Here we are, folks. I got a haircut today. There we go. My sister cut my hair. It was very safe. She's in my pod. It's all right. I don't know. I don't have much else to report. This is too awesome of a topic tonight and too great of a guest. I'm not going to even fuck around too much with intro. We're just going to go right into it. We're going to bring him in here, folks. Our guest tonight, he's a writer, an artist, a Twitch streamer, a Trekkie, and just an all-around swell guy. You know him as one half of the team behind the comic Phil, and from his own Twitch channel. Please welcome to the show, Ben Vigeant. Here he is. You're on.
Hey, folks. Hey, Bobby.
You're here. Welcome.
Do you want to be famous?
Oh, wow. Thank you.
5 followers, primes, and viewers.
Wow, we're already getting some great engagement from the chat.
Yeah, incredible.
I banned them. Look at that. All right. Wow. Ben, welcome. I just realized I also want to put your Twitch URL as well in your little nameplate here thing I have. So I'm going to do that while I talk to you a bit about how's it going. You streamed earlier today, so you're doing a double stream day.
It's a double stream day.
Man.
I'm ready, we'll see. I've never attempted this before, but I think you're worth it,
Thank you. Wait, is it PS_Garrick or is it?
Yeah, PS_Garrick. Yep.
Great.
Plain simple Garrick.
Oh, great. Ben does awesome gaming streams. He does lots of like retro gaming. Is that a fair enough size? Like old adventure games from like the early 90s kind of era, or 90s in general. Is that accurate enough? And then he did
80s and 90s. Yeah.
And then
we are playing Phoenix Wright, which I think that's early 2000s.
All right. Phoenix Wright.
Or whatever.
Those games are great.
right?
Yeah, I got them on my Switch. Those games are great. All right, Ben, we have to introduce you to everybody, and the best way to do it here on Musical Theater is Good Actually is knowing sort of your history with with musicals. And your feelings. We got to get got to put you in context here. Oh, hey, Poet. Oh, David, thanks for following. Oh, also thanks, Dace, for the sub earlier before we started. I really appreciate that as well. So this is the quiz where we get to know your feelings on theater. We get your takes. We get your history a bit. Oh, that kind of shows off. Don't mind me. All right, here we go. First question, and this is just to take your temperature, just like baseline here. Which statement do you agree with more?
Okay.
Musical theater is the pinnacle of human achievement as the purest and most complete synthesis of all art and performance. Or, musical theater is an abomination before God and man and destroying us as a society and human race. Which statement do you find more true?
Oh, man. I guess I would go for the first. I'll go for that. It's the pinnacle of human achievement. Absolutely.
Most
For
people
sure.
do. The question may be slightly leading. I don't know. I
It's
always
a little Colberry.
well, it's because so much of the the impetus is the word I was looking for. The impetus for this show was everybody has very strong feelings about musical theater. I find. I mean, I guess some people don't think about it at all, which in some ways is the ultimate. The Don Draper on the elevator. I don't think about you at all. That's apathy or whatever is the ultimate. That's the ultimate diss, I guess. But I really do love musicals a lot. But I find that. People have perceptions or preconceptions. What's your just basic history with musical, both because we're talking about a movie musical tonight, but also performance, because you've done comedy performance, correct?
Yeah. And so my background is, so first off, so I grew up in the New York City metropolitan suburb area. I grew up in southwestern Connecticut, about an hour outside of New York. And so, as a treat, as a kid, it'd be a special day, once a year or maybe once every other year, we'd go see a show on Broadway. And, sometimes it would be, that we bought a ticket in advance. But generally what it would be is that we would wake up early and we'd get on the train, and then we would go to Times Square and wait, get in the TKTS line.
Yep.
At, 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning and just wait and see whatever they had, which is how I saw Jekyll and Hyde.
You didn't see it with David Hasselhoff, did you?
No, we saw it actually with Hasselhoff. It was at the time that he was, but it was his understudy.
Oh, okay.
When we saw it, and his understudy got a huge ovation at the end. At the end, and it's someone, I think, said, and we would like to just call out the understudy who stepped up at the last second to perform, and everybody just went wild because the guy did a really great job, and you probably know the
being an understudy is so nerve-wracking because it's feast or famine. It's you are sitting in the room doing nothing, watching, taking notes, or we need you right now, or we're throwing you in, you got to learn everything. And so I did a lot of understudying a few years ago, actually for a while, and I was and it was very, very rewarding. I learned a lot, but I was I am not in a hurry to do this again. I don't think for me, I mean, also I'm not trying to just act as my source of income, so I have a very different perspective on these things, and so I'm not as pressed about I need to always have something on my resume, be building it or whatever.
Right. And so the first musical that I saw, I think I was 5 or 6. It was Cats.
What did 5 or 6-year-old Ben think of Cats?
Oh, I loved it.
Okay,
Come on. Cats, now and forever, at the Winter Garden Theater. Experience it. I mean, that's one of the things also is if being in the tri-state area, the radio ads for Cats would play all the time. So I remember Cats now and forever at the Winter Garden Theater.
The TV ad's pretty famous too, and you can find it on YouTube because people that just watched a lot of TV in the 90s in New York City, it's you saw the ad constantly. Yeah.
So yeah, and so we would see a Broadway show as I said, every now and again. And then my parents are very big, kind of Rodgers and Hammerstein kind of fans. And so that would play all the time, just in the house. So all of that, so South Pacific and Oklahoma and Camelot. They didn't like Camelot as much, but that would play sometimes. Carousel.
I mean, Camelot has some jams, If Ever I Should Leave You that's my favorite song to just go deep goulet on. Just go my full goulet. Is Ever I Should Leave You. Great song.
and then they liked the only context I really think of them in as is like musicals that you could do in like at elementary schools. So it's like Guys and Dolls. My parents loved Guys and Dolls.
I love Guys and
They saw
Dolls.
and I'm not putting it down. It's a great show. They saw the revival like what 92, 93
with Nathan Lane and
Yep.
Peter Gallagher, my celebrity doppelganger.
Yeah. You got to work on you got to get those brows a little.
Are you kidding me?
I think you need
Are you
even
kidding
more.
me? Are
Even
you kidding
more.
me? This man's saying I need to work on my... I mean, it is true. Peter Gallagher's got me, but...
I mean, you have excellent brows, but I mean, just Peter Gallagher's are just they have their own gravity. You know, they're
I mean,
incredible brows.
He's the man. But yeah, I love that cast recording too. I listened to that because I remember we did it in my middle school. I was Nicely Johnson, and I would listen to that cast recording. Nathan Lane as Nathan Detroit. It was very good.
And so the elementary school that I went to did full, instead of like, so you know, like some elementary schools, or I would say most, if they're putting on like a little musical thing, they would sing like, you know, the review version of it, and they would sing like 4 songs or whatever. That wasn't the case at my elementary school. It had a full stage, full auditorium, and they hired a director who, I mean, the way that I have always thought of it is this guy, because there are so many like kind of Broadway adjacent people in like regional theater stuff all over like Southern Connecticut, is that I always had the sense that this guy tried to do the Broadway thing for whatever reason and didn't work out. Somehow he ended up directing musicals at an elementary school and was like, I'm going to put on the best damn shows you've ever seen in your life.
Yeah. It's the oldest story in the book. I mean, that's Mr. G on Summer Heights High, which is very problematic now. I don't want to just fully... But, I mean, that character is very real. The Mr. G, the, like, faded, and then... But taking... And you said this was elementary school?
Elementary school.
That
so
is
we did
insane.
A full...
It's insane in middle school. That's fully insane in elementary school.
I was in Fiddler on the Roof in elementary school.
That's weird.
As like one of the like kind of middle characters that no one knows, that like his name was Avram, and he has like 5 lines. It was very exciting. But he would that director would do like full musical sets, wireless mics, full costumes. It was very intense, and he would scream at you. I only did one musical because I ran home crying one day. Like, he would scream at like 8-year-olds.
This little like
this was like Shutterbugs from Human Giant. Like
this little like just like Bob Fosse in front of like a bunch of 8-year-olds.
We would have like a full choreographer would come in. We'd dance. Like, it was like, looking back, like, because at the time as a kid, I was just like, I guess this is what it's like. And then when I went to like other stuff, and like when I went to middle school, where the musical there was not that, I was like, what? Why do they have this low rent thing? Like, they're not getting people in to play the music. It's being played off a cassette tape.
Yeah, just
and
totally
like, it's all
unrealistic
these
expectations.
crappy costumes, and the sets are garbage. Like, what the hell? And it was like, oh no. Like, I just went to a bizarre elementary school.
Yeah.
And it was a public school. It was a magnet school, but it was a public school.
Well, that's crazy. I mean, I said last week that one of the formative things that I saw as a little kid that made me really want to do theater was my brother he was just in like 6th grade, I want to say. So he was still in elementary school. They did Pirates of Penzance, and that was a magnet school as well. That was a gifted and talented like whole program and everything. And my brother was Frederick in Pirates of Penzance, and seeing how fun all of the like kids were having doing it, I was like, I want to do that. And also, it was such a fun and funny show. I really loved it.
That is a really fun show.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be a fun one.
And the movie's great. That's actually one that I
haven't seen the movie of that.
I mean, because
you mentioned when we were picking out the theme, you suggested that.
Yeah, the movie.
I got to see that movie
because it's just it's based off of Shakespeare in the Park from like 1979 or 1980 or so production. But the only people from the production who went over to perform in the movie were Kevin Kline, who was like the breakout. This was kind of like what launched Kevin Kline, actually. This was before Fish Called Wanda and all that. Like, this was what put him on the... And he was the Pirate King. And then Linda Ronstadt was Mabel, which is like totally not her voice, but she like completely retrained her voice basically to be an awesome soprano, and so the two of them, and they're both awesome, and the whole movie is so great, and it's just a really cool
that sounds
filming, like,
what a great
production.
cast.
Yeah. So actually I should put that one because I'm trying to, so we're going all over the place. I don't really care. This is going to be a loose episode, Ben. We're just going to have fun. So what I'm building towards, and that this episode is particularly important, is towards that, is because I want to have my definitive rank, or as it stands right now, of like the 20 best movie musicals. So the one that we're talking about tonight is a huge one that I had not seen. And now I have watched it 3 times in the past week. So I feel a little
incredible.
I feel ready to talk about it. But Pirates of Penzance is another one that I'll have to add to that list, because I have a running list, and then I have some of these that I'm like, okay, I still need to kind of watch that, or it's been too long since I've seen that, I need to rewatch it. So that's the goal here. And I don't know why what took me down that whatever you call it, path. So before we move on to the next question, I guess just so when and so now, so you've like performed comedy. Are you so I'm a person who kind of thinks everything is theater. Like, I am a very liberal definition of theater. I think stand-up comedy is theater. I think that a rock concert is theater. Or I think that anytime that you have a performer or performers and an audience, I think is theater. I think that like an elementary, like a nursery school pageant is theater. You know what I mean? So do you like? So you've done like a lot of like comedy, like in all the comedy stages in Chicago and stuff. Like, do you consider that theater? But it is like also distinct from, because Chicago also has a very, very vibrant storefront theater scene, which is completely distinct almost. How do you like? What are your feelings on that sort of those two like cultures and being in Chicago and doing that?
So when I started to kind of strike out about 11 years ago and produce with my then writing and performance partner, like producing shows, we my good friend Glenn, we really wanted to do stuff that was theatrical. Like, that was definitively part of what, like, and so we had stuff with costumes and choreography and song and dance.
Because
choreography.
Because there's a whole.
Like, I've always considered it theatrical. I always wanted it to be theatrical.
Yeah, because there's a whole school of thought, especially when it comes to like improv and sketch, that is like almost like, you know, minimalist, of like, you just have to just be like the bodies on stage and create it all yourselves right there. Like, there's like, that can be an impulse as well. But yeah, I'm with you that I always think that it doesn't even have to. It's kind of my philosophy for this show too. Like, when I make those like stupid theme songs and everything, is it doesn't even have to like necessarily be the best, especially when you're making like it for sketch. It's just that you put forth the effort, people will recognize that and get a kick out of that in and of itself.
Absolutely. And that was something like, so I moved to Chicago to do a program at the Second City, and that was like a lot of what I internalized there. And one thing, like, it's easy in like to kind of make fun of, for a variety of reasons, to make fun of the Second City, but I always appreciated like the theatrical, like their interest in really putting like a
show,
polished, like theater show for the audience,
right?
Even if like a lot of my snotty comedy friends and myself will be like tourist stuff.
Yeah. Right.
Like I always appreciated that, and that was something they really instilled in me as well. When I was doing the program there, is it's like, well, you should do like it's a performance. This is theater. Like you have to, the audience responds on some sort of unconscious level if they know that if you care.
Right.
If they think that you don't, then you're wasting their time, which is why I make fun of improv a lot.
And you bring I see shows at Second City as well when I was living in Chicago, and our good friend of the show, Alex Kleiner, was music director there. He worked there for many years, he helped produce some of their ETC stage shows, and did the full sound design, and like when I would go to see the shows there, it would be very slickly produced, very like, sound, like beat, like cues, like cutting between things, lighting, like everything. Which, I mean, coming from a theater background wasn't like a ton, but you're coming like from the perspective of you're a tourist from out of town, or you're coming from the suburbs to have a special night out or whatever it is, and that is a lot of the crowd that goes to like the main stage shows at Second City, or when they could, and so they're like, you have to make it special. Like it has to be like they're coming out here for a night out. The crowd that Second City's getting isn't gonna want the TJ and Dave Minimalist or UCB or whatever. Like yeah. Anyway, enough about improv. This is fucking about musical theater and sketch. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Well, but musicals are always a hit. Musical numbers are always a hit in comedy, I find. Well, not always, because sometimes comedy music is the worst thing in the world. But
I if you don't mind my interrupting.
Yes, no, please. I talk too much.
So some years ago, the show I was performing in, called the Telethon, at the time, we were in a comedy festival in Boston, and we were on a double bill with another show that was a musical, which I won't name, but it was this comedy musical that we were on a double bill with, and it was local to Boston. And so I was like, oh shit, this is perfect for us, because if it's a musical, it has a big cast. If it's a musical that got into a comedy festival, it's like well established. So they're going to bring people, like, so we don't have to worry too much about playing to an empty house, because like this is going to be like, like 10 to 20 people, maybe more. And they're going to have like a whole like group of people that are really amped to see them, because it's a local musical performing in a festival. And they didn't bring people really, one. And it was also terrible, and they ran over time, and it had a comedy a comedy white people rap number, and they had the joke. This is one of my greatest comedy memories, is that so they truncated their whole musical, which is normally I think like 90 minutes, 2 hours, into like the half-hour, 20-minute segment that we had. And so it was essentially, there was a narrator walking us between each song. They didn't do any of the scenes. And the narrator goes, all right, now normally in the show, we'd have this scene where this character raps about going to Maine, but we're not going to waste the audience's time with that. And there was a big pop from the crowd. Everyone's like, yeah, we don't want to have our time wasted with that. And
with
then he
Maine,
goes, okay, fine, we will do it. And the audience is like, no, we really didn't want this rap. We didn't want you to hear. And it was awful. And then we had to perform after that in the house. Like it took the audience like 5-10 minutes to like trust us, because they had just been abused.
Yeah, this is something I see a lot with on one of our favorite programs here on the show, Jack AM. We watch we watch different parody songs, either political parodies or pandemic themed parodies. A lot of time spent with the Holderness family. Oh boy. We aren't watching these things because we like them, folks. We are watching because we are looking at the depths of where our culture has fallen. And my feeling on it is sometimes I think that the parodies are cute and fun, because it's like an old person. They put the camera on on and they like sang, and it's like that level of effort is great. It's either like very low effort and then it's fine, it's funny, who cares, and even if it doesn't work, you're like, oh, who cares, you shrug at it, or expertly produced, but then it like has to like meet those standards, and so it's like it's one or the other, and then like there's like this spot in the middle where like everybody online is that I hate. It's like doing like they've taught themselves this much Pro Tools and this much whatever, like video editing, and I don't know. And so yeah, I do not care for bad comedy music. But
if it's good, it as you were saying, if it's good, it hits really hard, and if it's really well done, like I like to have, if I'm doing a show, if we have a good song and it has like good choreography and it's impressive, I like to front load that because it lets the audience know they're in good hands.
Right. Yeah.
It's like, oh, this is done by people who give a shit.
Right.
All right, I'm now keyed in.
The other thing you can do is also, if you don't want to do a full musical, is having a big musical number happen towards the end or in the second act. Like that's always a pop. That's always a fun thing. I mean, to me, the perfect example of this is Billy Madison. I think does this the best. Yep. And it's like, it's not like that song is the best song in the world and it's so clever and it's great. It's like, no, it's actually pretty stupid, and the lyrics are like very stupid, but it's the effort of going through this thing to do it and why, and like that's what's funny about it. And so
it's a big surprise, like,
right?
You don't expect. I just watched Billy Madison, I think like 2 or 3 weeks ago. It was delightful.
Yeah,
and
it holds up.
It's a total surprise because it's not a musical. You're not expecting. It's just I assume that they probably were like, well, Adam Sandler does have all these beloved comedy song albums or comedy albums that have
sing
a song or two. He should have one because we're going through. This is like his first crack at a big time movie, and we're doing all the Adam Sandler bits. Like we got to get one song in.
Yeah,
and it works. It works really well.
Yeah, and you get to like, it's very funny when he's really seriously committing to it, or when people are seriously committing to it, and then it's funny when it's like, don't I have a nice rack? Because then you can just like drop out of taking it very seriously and drop like, it's great. All right, we love musicals. They're good actually. Musical numbers, put them in your comedy, but don't make them bad. But that's the thing. If you do one, you can make it mostly sincere, very easy jokes, and it's great. But you just can't like do too much. All right, next question.
Go ahead.
No, I mean, I just trying to get through this quiz. Well, it's like
I can go on forever. So please, next question.
All right, we'll get back into it. Don't worry. What is your musical theater archetype? And I have a list of them here.
Okay.
Are you an ingenue? Are you the villain, the sidekick / friend, the character actor / comic relief / old, or other? Specify. I mean, there's infinitely more, but those are some of the ones that I'd like. So if you're if you were a character in a musical, what's your archetype in there?
Probably the comic relief guy. When I was in high school, and I mentioned when we were messaging before this, I mentioned, I think, that I was in high school. I was in Kiss Me Kate. And I was one of the gangsters. Yeah,
I want to play those guys. They're great.
It's a very fun role. Unless you're like me and totally blew Brush Up Your Shakespeare one night. And this is one of the things. Well, first off, you never forget like blowing a line, especially because it's a duet, and so I just fucked the other guy too, and he didn't speak to me for the rest of the production. There were 4 or 5 more
I remember
he only performed on the stage with me.
I was in a rehearsal when I was like 15, and it was like final dress rehearsal. I was doing the Les Mis student edition, and I was Marius, and I was like In Your Life, and we're on the stage, and it's got this and we do have a revolve because we had this like 6 stage, and it's like revolving and turning around, and all the sets, and they're like so much production on this team, professional like production or whatever, and I'm like, in my life, nothing.
Yeah,
and it just like went out, and I was like. And I will never forget that. And it wasn't even a show. That was like final dress. I was just embarrassed in front of like the director and the production team, and I was just like.
the thing. So 2 things about one is my defense is that Brush Up Your Shakespeare. Every verse starts exactly the same.
Yeah.
which so we're coming out
that's
for like
the Cole
the third
Porter
time.
That's the Cole Porter of it all. Is he's just
Yeah.
like, I'm just gonna like write a basic melody and then I'm gonna do 50 lyrics of jokes of the same joke.
Yeah. And so I go out and I say, brush up your Shakespeare, and like start, and then I say the next line, and it's the wrong verse, and I just like my whole brain is just like abort, and then I'm done.
And then you're trying to keep going and trying to recover and place where you are, and that's tough.
And my retroactive, like for years, I wish I could get in a time machine, not to correct and sing it correctly, but because those two characters have meta-breaking power, and they talk to the orchestra, and they threaten the band leader at a point. And so in my mind, I've always had in my head, it's like, Mr. Fix-It, I could have fixed it and gotten an enormous laugh if I just pointed my prop gun at the band leader and said, we're doing it again. And then picked it up.
Wait, which verse is this? Give me my lyrics.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, yeah. I love that. Yeah, I mean, it's anytime you get an opportunity that you have the license to comment and to go off script a bit. Roles like that. The other one I think of is, I don't know if you know the 25th annual Putnam County Spelling Bee, which is a very, very fun show.
I only its name, but I don't know the show.
It's a very good show. I'm going to send you a link to a slime tutorial of the original cast with you'll understand why Jesse Tyler Ferguson had a whole career, because it was off of this show. And he's very good. He's very, very good in it. But there's a part in that, because it's like, it's a spelling bee. I swear to God, this musical is good, people. It is a good musical, but it does also contain improv and a lot of audience participation. But it's okay. Because it's like very structured. It's a spelling bee. So the audience volunteers. They don't just go out and like pull people from the audience. Like before the show, they have like signups, like if you want to be able to compete. And it's like built into the show. And so like, and it's even like built into the show. It's like at this point you want to eliminate one of the audience people. And it's like, and so, but the character that kind of gets to facilitate that is this character, Vice Principal Panch. And he's the one that really gets to roast the audience and the contestants and gets to make, like, every time it's like use it in a sentence, and they get to make up very funny sentences with these words and stuff. And there's a lot of license. Like they give you a bunch of suggestions in the script, and they also say, if you come up with something better or more topical or whatever, go for it. And I love that.
You can always do the old regional theater trick of like just saying the name of a rival town and getting that easy, huge laugh. I saw them do that at the Lyric Opera here in Chicago for I think it was the Mikado.
Canceled. Speaking of canceled.
Yeah, that's a very canceled
show.
They did their best to to make the non.
Was this
the version?
What's their name? What's the company from Chicago that they actually they did it They did a residency here at Olney Theater where they did the Mikado and Pirates of Penzance. But the way that they did their Mikado is they like really tried to take it out of an Asian context entirely and make it like a whole different like kind of land. But it's still, the history is still there, so it's tough.
Yeah, there were like the set had like some kind of, but they, it is what it is.
But
yeah, it had one of those jokes. It's like where a character went like, oh, that's like a real Evanston thing to do. Or no, they said Skokie, because Skokie is a very funny town name.
Is a funny one to
Skokie is a very funny town name.
It has two K's in it, and K is like the funniest letter, right? Isn't that a thing? Yeah.
Yeah, it's it's
that's
Skokie.
like Cucamonga is another one. Cucamonga, Kalamazoo, where
Seattle
Lady Gugu went to college. Also, I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Topsy Turvy. It's
no.
Mike. Wait, no. What's the guy's? Mike Lee, is that his name? The British filmmaker. He's done a bunch of and he has like an ensemble of actors, and it's about the writing of the Mikado and Gilbert and Sullivan and their troupe of actors and stuff, and it's super good, super good, super interesting, and it has Gilbert being like going to like the whatever exhibition where he first encounters Japanese culture or whatever, and you see him kind of be really racist about it, but that's why I like appreciate that, because it's like, yeah, this is very ignorant like what these people are doing, but it also, if you can know going in that's the Mikado and that's all in there's a lot of really interesting theater history stuff, and it's beautiful to look out to. It's like it's really cool. Highly recommend.
One of the great Curb Your Enthusiasm songs.
What's that?
The three maids is used all the time in Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Well, also, yeah. and I mean a classic Simpsons as well. I mean, the whole Gilbert and Sullivan of Cape Fear episode. I mean, like, come on, 3 little maids from school are we? Like, I hear it in Homer's voice only. So I mean, to me, it's not racist. It's just Homer. I didn't even know that was a racist angle the first time I heard.
And there's nothing offensive or racist on classic Simpsons episodes.
Oh, certainly no, and definitely not towards Asian culture specifically. No,
nothing there.
No, not in roughly every other episode or anything. Yeah, that is definitely the hardest part of some of those old Simpsons. Like even the best episodes, you're like, oh, why is that there? Anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway, next question.
Yeah.
Okay, so we can kind of return to what we were saying. I love these questions, but I might need to reevaluate them, because this is sort of overlaps with sort of the first question. But how do you musical theater? So right now, how often do you go see a musical, listen to a soundtrack, watch a musical movie? Like, how often do you, and what's your preferred method to engage it? Do you ever, on a road trip, listen to a cast recording, or how do you musical theater?
So often it is I'll go without for a while, and then I'll just get in my head you know what, I want to listen to Jesus Christ Superstar or whatever, and then it's heavy rotation for a month until I'm like, okay, I don't have to listen to Jesus Christ Superstar. I'm using Jesus Christ Superstar as an example, because I watched that earlier last year.
Oh yeah.
And that's a fun movie. And
Ben, don't mean to interrupt you, but I will give you a preview. Don't have a date set yet, but that is going to be in the coming weeks. I have a very exciting guest that I don't want to even announce yet, because I haven't locked down a date yet, and for that person. But I'm not going to even say who that is. But I will say that our mutual friend Sean Rose he has access to the archives to what's the name of the comic shit? Well, I'm blanking on his Sean Tuckley's
Sean Tuckley's yeah. And I'm for Red Ring of Death.
Red Ring of Death, thank you. And Dr. Hornet, the podcast, a really funny podcast as well. So we love Sean. Sean is coming on in sometime in the next month or so, and we are going to talk about the Jesus Christ Superstar movie.
We watched it together during the we watched Sean and a group of friends and I have a Friday night good movie night, which rotates around. And our mutual friend Steve actually picked Jesus Christ Superstar, and that I hadn't seen that, nor was I really familiar. My 70s Jesus musical has always been Godspell. I was raised with Godspell. It was a Godspell household, and which is funny because we liked Andrew Lloyd Webber. My first musical was Cats.
Yeah.
And I listened to Evita all the time.
Evita's my favorite. Evita's my favorite. Andrew Lloyd Webber.
I adore Evita.
It's so good.
And
which one do you listen to? Do you listen to
Patinkin.
Okay, that's the original Broadway. Yeah.
Yeah.
With Patti LuPone.
Yeah. I listened to that one, and I'll listen to the original
concept.
the concept album.
Yeah,
Those two I'll listen to.
Abby, Lady Goo Goo, got me into. She's like, no, you should really, because like I was listening to the Broadway a lot, and she's like, this is always so different than the one I listened to. I think I listened to like the London cast, or she didn't know. And she was like, oh no, it's the original concept album, which has the God Colm Wilkinson, aka Jean Valjean himself, the original Jean Valjean, as Che, and singing rock, and I did not know that he could like.
He is
awesome.
very, very good. I alternate between those two. I saw when I was a kid, I saw Evita at a theater, like one of the regional theaters. And the nice thing about seeing theater at like one of the, it might have been Equity. It was probably Equity, but like at like an Equity regional theater in Connecticut where I was, is that a lot of New York Broadway or Broadway aspiring actors would perform in these because they were between performance. They couldn't get a good role or whatever. And so we would get really spectacular performers for like these kind of smaller theaters. And I remember as a kid, my parents took me to this place downtown Cabaret in Bridgeport, Connecticut, and we saw Evita. And seeing Evita as a little kid was very strange for me because it challenged my idea about narrative, because I kept asking my parents who the good guy was. This sounds like something that I'm making up.
No,
like,
but...
or it sounds like something. It's like, my kid asked me the other day, why is Ruth Bader Ginsburg the greatest justice of all time?
Daddy, who is good guy on the news? Who's the good guy, exactly. Daddy? They all seem bad. They're yelling.
Oh, let me get to Twitter. I'm gonna get so many retweets.
And Evita like blew my mind as a little kid, because I was just like, the idea of ambiguity in narrative was very strange to me as a small child. And
I say I
loved it.
The good guy in Evita is the people, but they are manipulated. Because I always say Evita gets her power from how beloved she is from the people, and then that eventually, like, she does that too much, and it like wears her down, basically. But it's the best. It's the like classic just rise and fall story. Like, that's it. It's like so good.
Hubristic. I think for me, those are hubristic morality plays are maybe my favorite genre. Like, I mean, that's what Citizen Kane is. That's what a lot of just the best
and
stuff
it's like, of course,
is
like
those. And they're always
horrifically
very entertaining.
Yeah, well, and it's like not historically accurate at all.
Oh no, not
like,
at all.
At all. But at the same time, you're like, but it feels right. It feels like what it is, and it's that kind of thing. I mean, it's the same thing with Jesus Christ Superstar, of course, right? Now, my thing with Jesus Christ Superstar, and I'm excited to watch the movie because if I have seen it, it's been many, many years where I've seen all the clips of it, so I feel like I've seen it or something. I don't know the last time I've watched the whole thing, so I'm looking forward to that. But
the actor who plays Judas goes so hard.
Carl Anderson.
He is so, and my God, he's hot as hell. Like, he is so good and so sexy.
Oh yeah.
Jesus, I don't care. Who cares? Judas though, A+, spectacular performance. Good looking guy.
Jesus Christ Superstar, for me, the ideal is best as an album. Like, it's best as an album listened to. It's especially staged kind of inert because the narrative like isn't as strong, which is funny because it's like the Bible story, but it's not necessarily like the story itself. It's how it's structured, because it's structured like an album that you put on and listen to, but like it's different when you're sitting and watching actors, you like expecting like a story. So it's just kind of structured weird or something, and so it doesn't work as well on stage for me. But I'm looking forward to watching the movie again. I will also say that one of my favorite parody musicals, or parody of a musical, is Jesus Christ Superstar, of course, on Mr. Show, Jeepers Creepers Semi-Star.
Yes.
Which
That's
is
so funny.
One of my favorite Mr. Show sketches. And I remember, like, being, this is going to age me, being in a Borders, looking through...
I remember Borders.
Looking through a the like Mr. Show book, like the compendium where like they like had like an episode guide and like all the people like talked about it. And I didn't buy the book, but I was like flipping through it, and I was like, I flipped right to that episode because I'm like, that's my favorite, one of my favorite episodes. I love that sketch. And then all the consensus for them, all the people on the server were like, we always thought this was our weakest episode. We weren't really feeling it. We thought I was like, what? This is like you get Jack Black and Gene Triplehorn in your parody musical. I love it.
Is Mr. Show on HBO Max?
Yes, it is.
Okay,
yes, it is.
Good. All right, it's been a very long time.
Yeah, that's a great one.
Sat down and watched Mr.
Folks,
Show. I think it's maybe time.
Talk about mostly holds up. I mean, 3 plus 1 minus 1, which were never my favorite anyway. Maybe don't hold up as well, but most of it holds up pretty well. All right, Ben, we're gonna get through this. God damn it. Okay, here it is. Here's the hot take question. What musicals, in your opinion, should be more popular or beloved than they are, and which should be less popular?
That's a. I don't know if I have the accurate depth of it.
Even just of what you've seen,
like the most pop, yeah. And so, I'll just say I think it's pretty popular. This is probably like a cheap out. Is I am obsessed with my big high school musical obsession was Year in Town, and I think it should have just been a massive smash. I got to see it on Broadway. I listened to that album. Like that is also I just wish it was something that everybody knew about. It's a show that I wish I could perform in. That's like my dream if I could be in a show. Like I think, like Conan O'Brien said, he's always wanted to play Harold Hill.
I want to play Harold Hill too.
I would either want to play Lock, Stock, or the villain. What's his name?
Cladwell.
Yeah, Cladwell. Because they're both such wonderful and really fun. Cladwell is probably better. Cladwell.
Oh, I don't know. I'm a Lock, Stock.
Probably.
So I will say,
Lock, Stock's a wonderful character.
I've done it. I've done this show 3 times.
Okay.
I did it in college when the rights first became available, and every college did it. And I was Lock, Stock in that production.
Yeah.
And then I've also did an understudy where I went on for Beryl and Robbie the Stockfish, who's a character that has no lines until the very last song where he goes, "I'm not sorry." It's like his only song line, and it's very funny. And then I played Senator Phipp, so I have, besides being an understudy and watching that production, like sitting and watching, like going to see it however many times I had to, I have not actually seen that show, but I've done it 3 times because I just want to be in it. I'm just born to be in it.
It's a show that I wish I could be in, because it's just a show that exists within like my comedy sensibility. That's exactly.
I'm dying to direct it. Dying to direct it because, to me, and I don't mean to take like just my general criticism of all the productions I've been in and have seen and things like that, is they love to play up the musical stuff, as they should, because the audience is going to get those references to Fiddler on the Roof and West Side Story and that kind of stuff. Yep. That's built in there.
Les
but they
Mis.
don't. But they. Oh, Les Mis, absolutely. They don't always lean into the Brecht of it all as much, and I think that, to me, the comedy of it happens at the intersection there, and about how incompatible those things are, and it's putting a musical like cast like that idealistic into a Brecht world where it's cruel and you're going to be punished and learn a lesson, and it's very funny.
It was the Broadway like production style of it was very kind of black boxy. Like it was in a full theater, but it was like very sparse and dark and grim and very Brecht. And then it was also in a theater they were about to destroy. It was the last show that they were doing in that theater, if I recall correctly. I could be totally wrong. So like they treated the theater like shit because it was going to tear it apart.
Okay, that's great. And then all of that quality just serves the show, just serves the world. The more like it's like the more it looks like it's about to be torn apart. It's great for the world of Urinetown. And the other
oh god.
I was just gonna say the other thing I love about it is that it's undergirded by like real like theory, like political theory, and it's true. Like the water shortages and like water wars and like that's not a joke. So like it is, and so to me like that's the best thing of comedy is when it's like so like on a level that this is like true and so dark, but like you're being confronted with it and you just have to kind of laugh. Like I love it.
Yeah. And then overrated musicals. I feel like there's just so many like kind of very obvious answers. Like I could say like any of the ones that like everybody was obsessed because we're about the same age, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we hung out with the theater crowds when we were like as we did like in high school and stuff, and everybody was obsessed with like Rent, Wicked. Like it was Rent and then it was Wicked. Both of those don't like them. So it's like but that feels so easy. So I guess also like I don't know.
Defying Gravity is a perfect song, I will say. That I don't care for Wicked either. My opinion on Stephen Schwartz is that he peaked with Godspell and got progressively not as good with each one. Because Pippin is really great, but not quite as good as Godspell. And then it's just like no. Baker's Wife is. It has one good song that gets done all the time, and it's mostly crap.
I'm really like. Because I'm running through all of the when when I finally saw when I saw Phantom of the Opera on Broadway, I ended up not really doing terribly much for me, even though it was like the spectacle. So there you go. That's a hot take, right?
That is because I
like it has some great.
That's
songs,
another one.
I love Masquerade.
Oh, I love Masquerade.
That's a wonderful. That was the best. That was. To me, the best, and the beautiful costumes and stuff like that.
Well, and then Masquerade comes into, like, when the Phantom comes out, and he has, like, a crazy cool, like, devil mask on and stuff, and he's like, and he throws down his, like, script, and he's like, you will perform my opera! I love it.
I think maybe, and that might have just been
suffered
from, I desperately wanted to see it, because it was, like, the show, like, the hot show to see. And then, like, I saw it, and I was like,
you know what? I might have had the same reaction if I had seen it, like 10 years ago or something. And as it was, I saw it in quarantine, for this show. I watched the Royal Albert Hall performance with Ramin Kamalou and Sierra Bajas, which is just
probably
unbelievably good. I was on an edible, and I was just, like, spectacle, and I was like, this is fucking great. So yeah, I do. But it is a very weird show, though. And that's another thing I liked about it, is I was like, I can't believe that this is the longest running thing on Broadway. This show is weird as fuck.
And say also, like, I felt the same way. Like, I mean, the two, I saw the three big of the 90s and early aughts Broadway shows. Like, I didn't see The Producers, but I did see The Producers. I saw Cats, I saw Les Mis, and I saw Phantom, which were, like, the three that kind of ruled Broadway, and then, like, the end of the 80s, 90s, and even a little bit into the aughts. And also, like, even, like, Les Mis, I found a little bit, like, I was surprised just when I saw it on Broadway. I liked listening to the album. It just didn't do very much for me. I wonder if it's probably a combination of that I saw, like, I built them up, like, these are the big, splashy Broadway shows. And also, it's like, I was seeing both of them on, like, year 20 of a run where, like, not to put like anyone down because I'm sure they were putting
it's just
a lot in, but it's just like in and out.
Especially Broadway. I mean, like they're like canning those performances. Like it's a job. Like you go in and you do it. Like you do it full out. You have to do it as much the same as you can every night. Like that's literally your job is actually to do it the same. So yeah, after a while, especially as running 20 years and it's now like a finely tuned machine, like we know this person's going to come out, so then this person's going to step up to this track, we'll have to hire somebody to do another swing and blah blah blah. And it's like there's a whole, and at this point they have it a well-oiled machine. But yeah, like so for me, the reason that I never saw it, and I didn't see a lot of big shows, I didn't see Book of Mormon. I mean, there's still a lot of big ones I haven't seen. I
hated Book of Mormon. I hated Book of Mormon.
I like Book of Mormon. I do like Book of Mormon.
I hated it. I saw it and I
that is a
like,
hot take. No, it's all right.
I hated Book of Mormon. There you go.
Well,
that is it. Like that. Like when I saw it, I was just
I will
like,
say Book
it
of
just
Mormon
reminded all of the Trey and Matt shit.
Well,
Like.
that's fair, and that's totally fair. But I the music of Book of Mormon isn't even like the best because it's functional. But I appreciate enough about it. Yeah, and it hasn't aged great, which is funny because it's from less than 10 years ago and it hasn't aged great. But some of it's still very funny. But the reason that I didn't see those shows is that I try to avoid listening to shows that I know I want to see. So I still haven't listened to like Hades Town. And I just tried to watch a slime tutorial a month ago or so of Natasha Pierre and the Great Comet of 1812, and folks, I didn't care for it. It doesn't rhyme at all, which is fine. It's a choice. But then the songs themselves, I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't want to get off on a tangent about Natasha Pierre and the Great Comet of 1812. But I wasn't compelled to finish it, I will say. Not even the first act.
I will say that even as someone that has totally soured on the show itself, I think that like maybe South Park the movie is that might be on my. It's been a while since I've seen it, so maybe I'll eat my words on this. But that might be on my list of movie musicals. Like so that's because I like it more than Book of Mormon. I think it's very funny. There's almost certainly stuff in it that's probably aged terribly.
One of the best things about it is it's short. It's like an hour and 20 minutes, but it moves so well, and the music really helps to structure it and to like. It doesn't just like it's not just funny to have a musical number. Like they really thought about integrating that music in there and what it was going to do for like the overall like story and movie. And I will say I bring up this story every time somebody brings up the South Park movie, that after it came out, our man, our god, the one, the only, Stephen Sondheim, he sure enough sent them, as he is wont to do, a telegram saying that he loved the show. It was one of his favorite musicals in like years. He said.
Oh,
he
that's
sent them
very.
A telegram saying that, and so they loved that. Anyway, we're just we love our guy. We love our guy Steve here. All right, we're been going really long, so we're just going to this last question here. And then we're gonna get to break, and then we're gonna talk about one of the best movies ever. In the musical of your life, what are you singing as your 11 o'clock number? So you've seen a lot of musicals. You know what 11 o'clock number is. That like, this is the lesson of the show. This is what I have learned. This is who I am. This is me or whatever. What are you singing? It can be a show tune. It can be a pop song. It can be a song that doesn't even exist. You're like, it would be a song like this or something. So what is that 11 o'clock number for you?
Man, that's a really hard question that we have a time limit. Oh man, I don't know if I could think of. So I don't know that term. I know like the I Witch and stuff like that, but I don't know that term.
The classic example the ultimate example is Rose's Turn in Gypsy, because it's literally 11 o'clock because that's the time it would be, and it's like refers to like the whatever Ethel Merman's coming out and she's singing this big brassy like whatever song to like. That's her like sort of big showstopper kind of, and the star of the show typically comes out. And there might be a couple of songs like or a song or two after as it like winds down, but that's like the big number, or like Lot's Wife and Caroline or Change, or what's another one? I can't think of any right now. What are other musicals? I don't know if Evita has one. It's almost.
I don't think
Evita doesn't really have one, but. Yeah.
Because I'm thinking of like ones like for the protagonist, because it's like I'm thinking of ones that define a character, like which would be like Lola, but she's not the star.
In Book of Mormon, it would be I Believe that.
I believe, right? Yes, of course, I believe. That's a funny song.
It is a funny song because that song is very funny, and it has the line about in 1974 God changed his mind about black people, which is very funny.
That's a very funny. That's a good song. I won't lie and say I hated all of it because that's a good song.
No, but especially the characters of color. I mean, we don't even have to go into it, but it's not great. But.
Shit, man.
Also, I will accept a pass. It's fine.
I'll take a pass. I'll think if I bet like we'll be in the middle of talking about like good morning, and then I'll be like,
say it for the 11 o'clock number of this show, because we are actually now going to go to 11 o'clock, so you can do this. So we're going to go an extra full hour, folks. I'm just kidding. Don't worry about it. I was joking. I'm keeping you here for all night. We're going 6 hours. All right. We're going to take a break, like 5 minutes or so, although we've been going long, so we might go... Well, no. We're going to come back. 5 minutes. It's 9:07. Please be back at 9:12. So that's 5. And now you say thank you, 5.
Thank you, 5.
Okay, good. All right. We will be back in 5, folks. Oh.
All right.
We're back. Sorry, folks. Having some technical issues here with Lady Gugu's not able to listen to the stream right now. It's really tragic.
Aww.
She's having issues with her computer, and it's just a whole thing.
It's a thing.
So we're sad about this. Hopefully she can get it fixed, and she can be listening. She can hear my end. But that's half of the show, folks. So
yeah.
Anyway, well, I will do this every single show. We'll come back and I will have forgotten to take the quiz out. All right. This is big. We're here. And it's 1951 Hollywood. Some guy named Arthur Freed is like, I have all these old 30s, musical catalog of songs from these musicals, and we want to make a new musical using these songs. I'm going to call up Comden and Green, who are really, I think, responsible for a lot. I mean, I would give probably the bulk of responsibility for this. I mean, no, I'm sorry. Shared between them and Gene Kelly and, what's his name? Stanley Donen. But, like, they fought to write the lyrics at first. Did you know this?
I didn't know that.
I mean, this was my very, very strenuous research on the Wikipedia page for Singin' in the Rain. But they had like a deal with the studio, with MGM, that they would get to write any lyrics unless it was musical by, like, literally this was the contract, unless it was by Rodgers and Hammerstein or like basically like the three biggest like composing duos of them. They're like, okay, but that they would, so that if they got hired to write a screenplay, they'd also get to write the lyrics. And so they tried to like get it, but then apparently that wasn't actually in their contract or something. And so they took these songs, and so that's what's kind of interesting about it is, I mean, they did write the lyrics to a couple of the songs, Moses Supposes and Make 'Em Laugh. But Make 'Em Laugh is really...
Make 'Em Laugh has the feeling of a song. Like, if you're talking about recycled songs, it has a real feeling.
It's really just Be a Clown by, which is an old Cole Porter. Right? Or is it
it definitely feels like a Cole Porter-y song.
No, and Be a Clown, like, was a kind of famous Cole Porter song, so it is. But I mean, like, it's also homage as well, because this is like a love letter to the entire era of film. So we're talking a movie that is, and well, basically, Comden and Green said, all right, well, they basically could write any narrative they want, and they had this catalog of songs, and that was all Arthur Freed, just like, make a musical of this. And they're like, well, it seems like we want to like kind of celebrate these songs and this era, and they kind of this is really like a love letter to that era, and so the ultimate like Hollywood satire in a way too.
It's very interesting. So if I'm looking down, it's some of the notes I was taking when I was rewatching it today. It's interesting. One of the first thoughts I had when I was watching it is that it's always interesting to watch some things like an era that is well before you's nostalgia. And this is 1951, 52. And so this is their nostalgia. What, the movie takes place in 1924? So not
Isn't that early? I thought it was like 30. Well, it was whenever the change...
They're in flappers and stuff.
Whenever the change happened to talkies. Well, when did
It's when the Jazz Singer
right?
comes
When did
out
the Jazz
is
Singer
when it's
come out? Yeah, so maybe that's 1928 or something. I don't know when that was.
The Jazz Singer. I've already got it.
1927 says Lilac Wimsky. Lilac Wimsky wins.
27. Okay, so yeah, late 20s.
Yeah.
And so this is like it's not even 30 years. Like this is Austin Powers distance from 1967.
Right.
And so it's really interesting to
No, yeah, it's not. It's
see,
25 years. It's 25-year difference. It's like yeah.
So
crazy.
it is Austin Powers difference or distance. Yeah, or is that 20? Anyway.
No, because no, Austin Powers I think was 30 because it was 1997 and I think it was 67 to 97.
Yep, it was 67. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're almost as far from 1997.
Well, Son of Austin has
Powers.
to happen. Son of Austin Powers, come on.
Where they travel back. This
Mike
is something
Myers,
I think about
don't-
all the time. Traveling back to 1997 from
and you could have
2027
and have like Seth Green be like an even more big bad now. You know, it would be fun. Just do it. All right.
I think about this a lot. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah.
That would be a good movie to Broadway. Austin Powers.
Ooh.
I think it would.
Austin
I think it would
Powers
be a great
music, original Austin Powers. Just
Yep.
Adapt because that's a perfect comedy. I mean, like that is
it
such a
is-
well done. Like
Sorry to get so far afield here.
no, we love it.
Austin
Powers is a musical. There's a dance.
Comedy.
There's a dance sequence in every one. It's a musical.
And I think that would be just a delightful. I think it would be a really. I think I could see it so clearly on Broadway as like a musical. It makes a lot of sense to me. Anyway.
Yeah. It's hard to sometimes you watch things and you're like, oh, this should be a musical. We watched Witches of Eastwick the other day and I was like, this should be a musical, and it already had been made a musical.
It's
But
George Miller, right?
Yeah, right, yeah. I mean, because I'm just fascinated by just George Miller's career. Just like
That's his hired gun. That's his hired gun movie, the only one he did.
Well, they
He did
already
one
made it
hired
into
gun.
a musical. It was directed by somebody who's accused of some things. That's all I'll say. Allegedly, not one of my favorites, but it was done around here in D.C. at a big theater around here. It was like in 2000, like late 2000s or something. I mean, like the original production. I forget. I don't know. So who knows if it's good, but
Yeah.
I love to think of what could be adapted to musicals. But
Anyway, it's interesting. Also, have you seen the film? I know it was also, I think it was Andrew Lloyd Webber. Have you seen Sunset Boulevard? The Billy
no,
Wilder?
I have not seen the original.
So Sunset Boulevard is a 1950 movie that deals with a lot of the same themes as this movie. As
Is it
Singing
like
in the
more
Rain
melodrama
does.
almost?
Yeah, except that it's it's played as a straight melodrama. It's pretty funny, but it's not played like it's a lot darker and sinister. But they're about silent film stars that are abandoned, which is really funny. There's someone that I follow on Twitter that's like a silent film scholar, and I don't know her personally, but like I just kind of find her tweeting about silent film interesting, and she hates this movie because it is remarkably popular and pushes out the idea that a lot of silent film stars lost their careers in the sound transition, and she's like, that's a myth, and it's a myth mostly from Singing in the Rain. Like, it really pushes that. It's a myth.
Well, isn't
like,
Sunset
it's not
Boulevard
true.
like it feels like it'd be more because Singing in the Rain, they do make it. Like that's the thing. I mean, although
I mean, that star is definitely not going to. That's
Lena
her last
Lamont,
movie.
yeah, well,
Lena Lamont,
but
is
they
not
make
gonna
her a
be in any
very
other.
fun, cartoony villain.
That actress was having the most fun.
Jean
She's
Hagen.
so. That's the role you want.
2 Oscar nominations. Two Oscar nominations for this movie. Score, which it won, and she got nominated for Best Supporting Actress. Very well earned. But not Gene Kelly, not Donald O'Connor. Are you freaking kidding me? Like, What?
Gene Kelly, I forgot when I was watching, like, until I turned this on again today. Gene Kelly is such a generically handsome looking guy. He is a very like standard handsome white guy face.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's a word that I coined first. The first time I thought of this word, I coined it. I'm sure somebody else has thought of this word. I'm sorry, but the first time that I said it was I was watching The Untouchables with Kevin Costner, and I'm like, he's such a blandsome actor. Where he's just blandly handsome. It's just like, it's not even like, whoa, he's so stunning, he's so hot. Like, and Gene Kelly's very much the same thing, where like he's very, very handsome, but it's not like even like Cary Grant, where you're like, oh man, look at that jaw, look at that, like, it's like he's a very like good looking, handsome man that is, but it's then like sort of what he does, kind of, that like it's almost like he's so unassuming seeming that when he like does these huge feats. And the thing that I was most blown away about now, having watched this 3 times, is he's doing this stuff and you watch his face and he's like, and it's like nothing. He's like, this is cool, man, we're just having fun. And that's what I love, is like that whole like ease that he kind of exudes. And so he's just unassuming almost, even though he's like playing a big movie star.
Yeah, and I mean, he's just doing just some of the most incredible like choreography. I haven't seen a ton of them, but I have seen a fair amount of like 30s, 40s, and 50s movie musicals when like and they have a very specific style. And one of the things I think about is, because they are like, especially at the time, not so much in the 50s, but like they're still kind of competing with stage, like at that point. And
I mean, like that was like the popular culture was musicals. Like that was like top selling songs or whatever. Like the top of the charts were songs from musicals. Like that was like, and I mean, like that, like the thing, like all these songs, and I mean, like all these, and they show the era in the movie when they start making musicals, because you can have like those movies are more just almost sometimes like showcases for songs that they can then sell the sheet music and the records and all that kind of stuff.
And
which is just like Glee now, and then when they did Glee, and then they could sell every song in Glee. They would do that. Every song would be available on iTunes like immediately after the episode.
All right. Hold on. Another like
and then
side
like
thing here.
And then there's like Video Killed the Radio Star. Like that's the thing, is like all of these things continue. Like it's like this, all this energy, and it's the same thing of like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, like that sort of story. It's like the young, the next generation, or the changing, like it's like that is such an eternal story of being like, of having to like sort of fight to keep your place in a changing world.
And they have, it's so much fun because we think that our generation, or like maybe like Gen X, invented like kind of clever meta humor,
irony,
then like you see something
the opening
like
of this
Singin'
movie
in the Rain, which has such a kind of wink to the audience, so meta textual sense to it, and you're like, oh, this feels very modern in some ways, and then it's like, oh yeah, there's nothing new under the sun.
Right. Like one of my favorite jokes is when when Gene Kelly says to Donald O'Connor, "Call me a cab," and he goes, "Okay, you're a cab." And it's like, that's like, and I was
very Zucker Abrams Zucker.
Like it's very like classic. I know, but it's like, I was like, I bet that hit at the time. Like, that was like so early. Like, okay, you're a cab. I mean,
this is a delight to see in a full theater, like full movie theater. If you ever like, if God willing, we can go.
I will say, theaters. Okay, I'm gonna like step back and like start at the beginning and kind of pace through.
Absolutely.
But I will say, the funniest line in the movie well, maybe I'll save what that line is, but you could probably guess the one I'm thinking of. It's Lena Lamont's line, and
Yep. Okay.
I think I had to pause it when we were watching because I was laughing so hysterically, and it was so fucking funny, and it's an ad lib. I'll just say it. It's when she's like fighting with the producer of the movie, and then she says, I've got more money than." Is it?
Oh, it's
I
don't
wait.
know immediately.
Hang on. I'm gonna pull up. It's on the Wikipedia.
She is so like Jean Hagen is so funny. Her performance,
the non-singing,
so big.
non-dancing part, like basically runs away with the movie. That's a big dance musical. It's amazing.
It is funny now that I'm also looking at the Wikipedia page that Debbie Reynolds had somebody
that's one of my favorite.
Voice,
okay, that's my favorite bit of irony. Well, we'll get to it. We'll get to it. But that is a very good irony.
Now
the line is, oh yeah.
What do they think I am, dumb or something? Why, I make more money than Calvin Coolidge put together.
That's a great. Oh my god, it's such a funny.
When I was like crying laughing. It was so good, and apparently was an ad lib. The woman is a genius.
The
put together, I think, was maybe the ad lib, but like
it's such a killer like performance that she plays it all the way. She plays it so broad and so big, and the movie really like. So this is the beginning of the movie. So
yeah.
we're
so
is that the movie
classic,
begins.
It's the classic movie. It's the classic thing where you're on your way to your big movie premiere and you're stopped by a Luella Parsons analog who is like a big gossip columnist, and she wants to stop and have you recap your entire career up to this point. And that's,
so Gene Kelly playing Don, he plays. Like, so it does this comedy bit where he's like, it's always dignity, and it's a bunch of past flashbacks that
of them in like vaudeville throwing pies in their faces and their pants falling down or whatever, and like
But Gene Kelly's performance there is very like kind of stagey, and to the like his acting is very.
It seems rehearsed because like that's what he's playing. Like basically, what they're setting up is that. These are people who are just comfortable lying and presenting an image that just completely, is just putting a happy face on what is just like darkness.
Like a sausage factory, like especially that era. Like, obviously MGM couldn't really make fun of it because it was the worst of all. But...
Well, and what's funny also reading about the production of this and reading about some of the bits of like trivia that I've got here is that especially like because he was a stuntman, was like sort of his history is how he started in the movie, Gene Kelly's character, and so like they're kind of showing like how stupidly dangerous all this stuff is, and that was certainly true, but also like hearing about like some of the long days and like after filming Make a Laugh, Donald O'Connor had to be hospitalized for a few days because he just like went way overboard with it or something. So like it's just as by our standards today.
Debbie Reynolds had bleeding feet.
Oh yeah, and Gene Kelly was not so patient with Debbie Reynolds.
No, he admitted he's like, I'm surprised she talks to me.
Debbie Reynolds was quoted as saying that. Oh wait, hang on. I'm gonna actually find it. I want to get the exact quote. I think it's here. Oh yeah. Yeah, she wasn't a dancer. Oh yeah, years later she was quoted as saying that singing in the rain and childbirth were the two hardest things I ever had to do in my life.
Yeah. She'll be remembered forever for singing in the rain, though, at least.
For sure. And so just the bit of background, so like she was not a trained dancer. She was a gymnast, and so she like did like probably tumbling or whatever and things. And she was like a big sort of young up and coming starlet, and they were like, "Oh, we got to." And apparently they were like she was always the one that they wanted in this role. And so early in rehearsals, like Gene Kelly's like flipping out at her, and he's like, "You don't fucking know anything, you're gonna ruin this movie or whatever." And she like goes and cries under a piano. And then Fred Astaire comes and visits the rehearsal, and he's like, "What's going on? Are you all right?" And she's like, "Ugh." And basically, you know, if you don't know how to dance at all, and you have to be in like what is going to be regarded as like the best singing dancing movie of all time, you could do worse than have your mentor be Fred Astaire. All right. I mean, yeah. So we'll get to, but basically, so he goes through, yeah, and it's very funny because he's saying one thing and we're seeing the opposite, and that stays pretty funny, and that extends to when we come to this supposed great romance, and that's another thing that I love, even before Don Lockwood and Lena Lamont come up, that we meet a couple of other Hollywood couples, and it's like, oh, the newlyweds, they're so in love, and it's like some like really hot like woman who looks miserable and like a really fat like old guy, and they're like walking like next to each other, and it's so funny.
There was one they had a lot of fun with that was like this dramatic actress, and she was in like this very striking dress, and everybody gasped when they saw her, like, because like for everybody else, like there's this group of people that go wild every time they see a celebrity as they're walking into the movie theater, but then like when they see her, like she walks out and she kind of strikes a pose and everyone's like it's just so fun. And the whole movie, like the movie never lets go of that, like it never loses, other than one moment towards the end of like, this is just a light goofy fun,
right? Yeah. And they're like, and so much of the joke that's like kind of underlying everything is that these are showbiz people that all they can do is lie almost. It's
yeah,
like,
they're
and
big
that's
phonies.
And the movie itself is making like one big lie of turning this one movie and making it into a completely different movie that would be less terrible. But we'll get to that.
Yeah.
So we learn about Lena Lamont and Don Lockwood's history, and as far as the public knows, the magazine that, you know, this interviewer is going to write for, they think they're the hottest couple in Hollywood. They're like the you know, great and in love. And then very soon after that, so they're going into their premiere for their new silent movie, which I don't even remember what it is. I don't think it's important. I don't know.
Yeah, I forget the name. Yeah.
But then you know, they're there, and then afterwards there's like a big, you know, standing ovation, and then they're going to like go out, and so you see a lot of Lena Lamont, and she's always very beautiful, and even in the flashback, like she's very shitty to him, but it's very funny because she's just like, but you haven't heard her yet.
Yeah.
Crucially, because the movie is saving like the best recurring joke of the movie, namely just this character and her voice and the way that she is, and they're saving it. And then you keep seeing her, go out and come back, and she keeps trying to talk, and Don Lockwood keeps talking for her, and you're like, oh, and you think, oh, he's kind of a jerk, because he's like, and it is kind of true that he is like a glory hound or whatever. But then they come backstage, and she goes, "What's the big idea?" And like,
yeah,
is just the best cartoon of a character. Just
and
like,
then once she starts, she talks for the rest of the movie.
Yeah,
like it holds on to that card, and then it plays it, and then it's just like, here we go.
And the ultimate thing of the joke is that she's not aware of how she like sounds to other people.
She's unaware of like later, like everybody's laughing at her, and she doesn't even know.
Yeah,
she's not just like, everybody loved it. Like
right. They all love me. Like, yeah, she's. I mean, you know, it's a pretty cartoon, like vapid, like character, like that as written, but I mean, there are some interesting shades to her character. Like something that I appreciate early that they set up is that she really does kind of want to be in a real relationship with Don, but Don's not interested at all because she is, you know, kind of a ditz and an airhead or whatever. But she's very like resentful of that. I think she wishes that those like tabloids were more true, and I think that's kind of a lot, or at least we're meant to sort of infer that that's probably a lot of the source of kind of what her bitterness that makes her like sort of the antagonist of the movie.
Well, she wants the facade to be true, and I mean, also like again, also
to the point where like even deluding herself about her own abilities and her own stuff, that she's just you know what, it's sorry to bring it to this guy because we're all happy to not have him anymore, but it's kind of like the thing with Trump where like I really do think that he believes sort of what he says, like he's actually convinced of like the sort of whatever worlds he's created for himself, where like like everybody's very unfair to him, or they love him, and they're always saying very nice things about me, or whatever. Like I think she's kind of like sees things in that same way, where it's like idealized, like I'm the best, kind of. I don't know.
Oh, I mean, yeah. She's read all of this great press, and she also later in the movie, like, she reveals that she's able to manufacture her own good press for herself.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So she's able to manufacture reality.
Right. Yeah.
And
I mean, like, and
because that is reality in the world that they
right.
live in.
Right. I mean, like, and then that's the really fun part is then when like, so then, well, we'll go on, but like a few minutes after that, you'll actually go see them on the sound stage where they're filming like 8 different silent movies at once. And I mean, like, that was one of the coolest parts to me, because I really feel like that's kind of how it was. Like, where it's like, I mean, like, you could just be like filming so much stuff.
The Pee-wee's Big Adventure,
right?
Shot. Like, that's everyone's dream.
Yeah.
Of going to Hollywood. Like, I read this down myself. It's like everybody. Anytime there's a Hollywood thing, everybody loves the like kind of the pan where someone's walking through and like they go through a jungle and then they go through like a kitchen and then they go through, you know, the Empire State Building or whatever, and like a guy in like a tribal mask says, it's like, oh, hi Don, like, you know.
Yeah, I will say it's not prominent. But in terms of what's problematic in this movie, there are some people painted in brown face. And in fact, I think Gene Kelly kind of has it at one point early when he's doing the like cowboy stunt thing. I think he's kind of in a little bit of like Mexican brown face kind of. Maybe.
I forget that, but I do know that
but then also
Cosmo constantly pitches like, what if we did something like a Jim Crow show?
Well, that's because he's talking about we need to make it like the jazz singer. So he was like, that's why he was making it. But yeah, I know what you're talking about. That too. But yeah, that is some of the problematic content. But we actually skipped the introduction of Debbie Reynolds. So Don is like, well, he's just kind of, I don't know, like
he's being mobbed by fans as he leaves the theater. And this was one of the notes I put, is that the gag that a tuxedo is torn apart is in every comedy prior to 1965. Yeah. Any comedy that has a man wear a tux prior to 1965, you're going to see those arms be pulled off at some point, where like a thread get caught on a chair and everything fall apart. Like for some reason, tuxedos prior to 1965 were extremely fragile.
Yeah. Well, and that's what's really funny is, it gets all torn apart, and then he jumps on classic, the one of the best ways to signal very, very old Hollywood, whether it be, you know, Roger Rabbit or here is the cable car, which of course is like hasn't been in, you know, for 80 however many years, because LA famously has terrible public transportation, but he kind of leaps on top of it and jumps, and this is also a great moment where you're like, this is a movie where you just need to just go along with the ride. Yeah, he's escaping by jumping on top of a trolley car and then jumping into a moving car with a strange woman he's never met before. Right.
He was a stuntman. So it makes sense within the internal logic.
And you've seen so much of what he can do already. Like, he is almost superhuman in this movie, I would say, because like both he's this huge star, so he has so much status just in general. But it's also that he backs it up with just like, again and again, just insane, not just choreography, but just like even charisma and singing and all of it. Like, he's amazing. So he leaps in this car, and it's being driven by Debbie Reynolds, and she is at least playing very unimpressed with Don. She knows who he is, but she is very much doing the oh yeah, I think I've seen one of your movies. We find out later she's like seen all of his movies, of course.
Yeah, and she lights up, like when the cop reveals who it is. She lights up, like she has a tell for a moment, and then she's like she plays it cool, especially because Don immediately tries to fuck her.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing. That's kind of what we're led to believe is Don's move. Is he's like, everybody loves me, and like, yeah, I'm just gonna. And then she is like, meh. She's kind of not having it. And in fact, she's saying, what's so great about what these silent movie stars do? All they do is kind of pose. They don't actually act or say the lines. Fair. And of course, this is foreshadowing because we know that there's going to be a change in that. And then anyway, so they like fight. And speaking of his falling apart tuxedo, when she drops him off at his place, his tuxedo one of his arms is in the door, and then she
pulls off.
Yeah, and then it pulls off. So that's it. It's like a tag of that joke. It's like, hey, Tux is still falling apart.
Tux comedy, big for Harold Lloyd, big for Gene Kelly. Big for I think. Cary Grant in Bringing Up Baby. All the stars had a falling apart tux.
Yeah, there's nothing funnier. But
Marx Brothers, absolutely. Yep.
Oh yeah. Then they go. Hi everybody. Oh my god. Anytime I try to do something while I'm talking, it's bad. Sorry.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Yeah, I see what happened.
We're all fine. Then they have like sort of the opening party or whatever, the big grand opening party at the producer's house. And the producer's actually based on the producer of Singing in the Rain, RF. And his name, it's because Arthur Freed, so it's RF something, whatever.
Yeah,
RF.
Yeah.
Good, because it's the name of the studio or whatever. Anyway, they're at his house, and we see her pull up, and she's like, "Yeah, I'm here." And they're like, "Oh, you're here for the floor show? Come around or whatever." And so then they're at this party. Lena Lamont's like trying to mac on Don Lockwood, and he's not having it. He's not interested. And then all of a sudden, oh, look, there she is. All these girls come in, and there's Debbie Rent. And then, there's a cake, actually. Sorry. A cake that gets, and then out of the cake pops right here, Debbie Reynolds.
Yeah.
And that's like sort of, and so it's very funny then. So then Gene Kelly gets to have the interplay of like, oh, what I'm so like a silly person for what I do, and then here you are, and the number that they do is very, very cute and fun, but it's also insane because there's a constant stream of confetti being thrown from all angles over it, and it just is accumulating, and it's clear that they like it's one, at least like one, this is one take. They might have done a few more.
Yeah, they're not like CGI.
Right, it's not like different like it cuts and then it's like a whole different set of colors and stuff. It's like clearly, and there's like women that are like in the center of this, and I'm like, how are they not tripping over themselves? Because they're like doing kicks and all this kind of stuff, and there's
so this is something I was thinking when I was watching this, and I was getting close to this earlier, is that so it's competing with live theater, and like, I mean, seeing someone do spectacular dance in person, is like, you could watch it on tape and it will be good, but if you see someone dance spectacularly, like, on stage, like, it just explodes your brain. And so the sense that I got, like, watching this, but then also watching some of the other, like, movies from that period, is that, like, they throw all these obstacles, and obviously a very big obstacle-heavy dance number comes later in the show, but also Make 'Em Laugh also has a lot of that too. Is in order to kind of counter it from the stage, is that they do it, they do dances that can only be done on film, not even just because it's like, yeah, you can have a lot of confetti flying at an actor on a stage, but those actors on a stage aren't going to get 20 takes in case somebody falls down.
Yeah, and at least half the time they're gonna fall. Yeah.
Yeah, and
like, it's
the same with Gene Kelly dancing in water. Mm-hmm. Like, it's like, you could, I mean, it'd be difficult, but you could do it on a stage. But again, you're gonna want to have a bunch of safety takes because somebody could fall down and bust their ankle.
Oh yeah, I mean a lot. I mean, good morning, when they're like going up and down the steps and stuff. I can't even imagine.
Oh,
Like,
scary.
Yeah, or like jumping up and down on tables. There's a lot of that with like Donald O'Connor. There's like in Moses Supposes, which is like sort of this very goofy number. The two of them tap on a very small table, like a very small desk. It's like not any bigger than the desk I have here, and it's like two full-grown men doing full like flailing kick tapping, and it's incredible.
Yeah.
But anyway,
so yeah, go ahead.
no, I was just gonna like move on in the movie that so that's all whatever. Oh no, I'm sorry, I'm skipping a very big thing.
Yeah, then they play a special video. Or a special film.
Oh no! Before that, I'm saying
okay.
No, is it at the party they play the film?
It's at the party.
Okay.
At this party that the shark fin appears.
They play a movie of this very gross old doctor talking.
This has an incredible gag in it, but explain, and then I have to talk about this gag at the end because
he's talking like right into this camera. He's like, and you can see that I am speaking, and he's like just like talking into the camera, and he's like, and you can hear the words that follow along with my voice, and it's like his teeth are all gross and stuff too.
Yeah, and there's somebody in the crowd that goes, that's not real. There's somebody standing behind the curtain.
Yeah.
And he goes, no, I'm right here, which also sets up at the end when that happens, when she's behind the curtain.
And that's what, and the woman says, RF, is that you? Is that you playing a trick on us? Because it's his party, it's his house or whatever.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, and that's him. He says, no, I'm right here. But it is his idea later. He's the one that I think, the three of them all together. Yeah.
But this has an incredible gag in it that people are still doing today, especially now in quarantine. Like, it blew my mind when this happens. It's so that the old man gives his talk. It's like, and the magic of sound. And then there's like 5 to 10 seconds as the film is running out. And he like awkwardly kind of goes like for someone to turn the camera off.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of people are doing like that. Like there's that woman that had like the TikTok or whatever of it's like somebody ending a Zoom and it's just like bye, like that. Like he does that.
Right.
He does that joke, and I was like, they're doing that joke in 1951.
Ever since there
Holy
were cameras,
shit.
there was the awkward moment of the person turning off the camera. That's like,
like I was
there's
like,
no
oh my god,
new joke under the sun.
I was
That's
like, motherfucker! I thought that was a new joke.
It's been done since 1952. Yeah, and then but the grand finale of this party is that Don Lockwood's still really trying to fuck. Oh God, what's her name? Is her Peg? What's her name? Peggy?
Kathy
Selton, right? He's still really trying to mac on her, and she just gets so fed up that they're by a food table, and she picks up a cake. And while he's hitting on her, then Lena Lamont comes over, and she's jealous, and she's like, "What, Mom? What's the big idea?" Or whatever.
Yeah.
And then, but she's like had it with Don Lockwood, and so she picks up this cake, and she goes to throw it at him, and somehow he's, for some reason, tying his shoe or something. He's ducked, and it lands, and it's very sudden and funny also that Lena Lamont, and it's funny to have a woman in a beautiful gown, very, very like made up and clearly very vain, take a huge cake to the face. It doesn't, you can't go wrong.
It's also the cake to the face. However, like you could tell they really engineered this gag because she gets a fair amount of cross section of the cake. So there's like, because this isn't so, you have to get this right, and it's not something you can really do perfectly. But like,
yeah, you can't.
However,
reset
Debbie
too
Reynolds
easily.
is when she throws it, like a nice, weird, like different, like sections of the cake are across her face, which makes it even funnier.
Right. Yeah.
Like,
it's like because it's like peeling or something. And she's just like, and so from this moment, now we know that Lena Lamont, if she was already not a fan of Kathy Selden, and now she truly hates her. And then we find out later when they're at the set and blah 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 blah. That actually she went and had her fired from this like performing troupe or something, and so she was very, very mad about.
I think this is all at the Grove. is what they said. I got her fired from the Grove.
Oh, okay. So it's another LA hotspot.
Yeah, this is a very LA.
Yeah, this is such an LA movie. It really is. It's
so
almost
LA.
it's almost as if LA is like a character in the movie. Anyway, so
Yeah.
they're filming, their silent movies or whatever, and then here comes the producer, and he's like, shut it all down. Shut it all down. We're shutting down production on everything. And this was what we're talking about, the scene where, like, all these things are filming all at once. And he's like, we're shutting everything down for 2 weeks. We're fully pivoting to talkies. Because at the party, they were talking about the jazz singer, and people were like, meh, they're wasting so much money on that. It'll never work. Ha, ha, ha. And then right away, they're like, no, we're only going to make these now.
Yeah.
And so then they just like have a whole pivot, and there's this really fun montage of all the like movies that they're making then, like what that they go into making, and it's all like people like with there's a guy with the megaphone going do wacka vote audio, like it's like
and
so
there's
good.
a lot of like blue screen in
Right.
it, like too. This movie has a lot of special effects, like
Yes.
even beyond like the dancing is a special effect, but like actual like technology special effects.
Oh yeah, the blue screen.
Like,
the one that I love is at the end of Broadway Melody when Gene Kelly's clearly just at a blue screen, like, and that's what gives me a kick about it, because I'm like, for Gene Kelly, all he was doing was standing in front of a blue screen going, "That's a Broadway Melody," but like what's behind him is the crane shot of like it going way up, and you're seeing like dozens and dozens of people in this huge, unbelievably huge set as it's like pulling back and back. So it looks like he's like flying above all of it, but it must have been incredible at the time. I mean, and it actually still like even knowing how they're doing it, like, and being like, I could do that. It's like, it's still very cool.
yeah, like a lot of that stuff still, like, I mean, yeah, that when you see them switch to sound and like the do like what you were just talking about, that looks so cool. I like this movie when it leans into very weird directions.
It's out of nowhere, just like so bright, and like, and it's quick, and it's all these like, then it's like women dancing, and then it's like just a bunch of stuff. And I was watching this, I was just like, whoa. It's pretty trippy, honestly, and there's a couple of moments like that. Broadway Melody, actually, I think the whole thing is actually pretty freaking trippy and awesome. But we'll get to that one. But the talkie. So the other thing is that, so even though Don Lockwood has this whole vaudeville history, and he has his best friend who's we haven't even talked about
who's promoted to music director from I don't know what he was doing
his
before.
job. So his job, as they describe it, Donald O'Connor, was that he would play piano to set the tone or mood of whatever type of scene they're shooting. So if they were shooting a very romantic scene, which is actually what I think they are, like when they see them, it's like he's playing very romantic music. But I think maybe if he was doing like a swashbuckling kind of picture, it would be like more adventurous.
Yeah.
I don't know. A very necessary thing. I think it's mostly he's like Don's flunky that they like keep on staff because Don's like
it's the guy that has a crush on Don.
He is Don's E from Entourage, if you know your Entourage. He's E.
I don't know my Entourage.
he's probably
I'm sorry to say.
He's probably E. I don't think he's Turtle or Johnny Drama. He seems like
I was just gonna say he's the guy that has a crush on him. It's
there's
too
a lot
easy,
of that.
But
Yeah.
he has a crush on him.
It's certainly he's very much just like a bachelor who, I guess he is hitting on a woman at the party, actually. I clocked that this time, where she was like, in fact, he like kind of makes a vague allusion to like, yeah, I could put you in pictures too, which is like really gross to watch now. But like, that sort of, but it's not even too lascivious how it is in the movie, but it's still kind of like him hitting on a woman and saying that. But anyway, does Make 'Em Laugh happen before that montage, or
It
after?
doesn't.
Or no? Is it that's?
I forget exactly. I think it might have happened before the crazy montage, but I could be wrong.
Because Don's sad about
because he can't find.
because he can't find Kathy Selden.
Kathy.
Yeah, he's been looking for her after the party because he's like he is like in love with her at this point. Like he's quickly like smitten basically. And he's been looking for her and he can't find her because she got fired.
Yeah. Oh, so this Make Him Laugh happens before because then they have that really funny scene before they shut down the silent production. They have the real like kind of Kiss Me Kate style backstage on stage thing where he finds out that she got him fired. And they're delivering their lines because people's mouths move.
Oh, right.
In silent movies.
And he's like,
but it's just he didn't hear it. And so he's just like, you're such a snake.
Yeah, he's like,
I really hate you.
Yeah, he's like, I really hate you, you know? He's like, you're such like, it's great.
So
and she's
funny.
doing it too,
it's such a funny, like, it's a very, I wouldn't be surprised if that was like kind of like just a bit of vaudeville shtick. Mm-hmm. But it works. It works so well. It's so funny.
Right. And so then, Make Him Laugh is just a tour de force from Donald O'Connor. I mean, it's an unbelievable, and it's all him. And and that's
rubber face.
Yeah,
he's got a rubber face. He does.
Well, that's
a
what
lot
I
of
was
rubber
like.
Face stuff.
There was some stuff in that I was like, the rubber face stuff. I was like, I bet you like you can almost see who he influenced. Like you can see that he influenced Jim Carrey there. Like you know what I mean? Like like I'm sure Jim Carrey growing up watched the hell out of Make Him Laugh. And
I mean, watching this, you see so many. It's one of my favorite things about watching stuff like this old is that you kind of start to understand the lineage of other stuff, and like you see this, like obviously, like I kept thinking about Hail Caesar when I was watching this, which is I think a fairly underrated Coen.
Oh, that's a wonderful movie, and I mean the musical number in that is fantastic.
Because they straight like. Later on, there's a gag from this movie they straight steal.
See, now I have to go back and rewatch it now that I've seen Singin' in the Rain. So maybe I'll pick it up.
Also, this movie's Technicolor, and Technicolor is... I love seeing Technicolor. I love how it makes blue eyes look really fucking weird.
Well, I keep alluding to Broadway Melody because I'm really excited about it because I think it's my favorite sequence. But so let's zoom through what happens.
Oh yeah, we have to. We're
just I don't know why we even need to summarize it. Basically, then they try to film a talkie, a genuinely like a hilarious sketch happens. Just a truly take it out whole thing. It's one of the best sketches ever. It's Lena Lamont not at all understanding how to deliver to a microphone and how to have her sound pick up and be cognizant of that. And
it's a spectacular shtick in this movie. This movie
and the director getting
shtick.
Increasingly hinged about it is
it has like spectacular shtick. There's a lot of really very clever wordplay. Like it really feels like this is like it was probably shot in 51, came out in 52. I bet it feels a piece with like 40s comedies where like there's just like everybody's talking really fast and they're just like gag. Like it really has that.
That's something Abby and I were talking
about. I love that.
Is especially with Gene Kelly because I think he's so musically inclined. He's such a dancer and he has such a sense of rhythm that he like that, especially in his dialogue scenes, that he really gets a sense of that, and he has such an innate sense for how musically that should be, like how a scene should almost be, and like and so the interplay and all that kind of stuff like that is amazing. But anyway,
I mean he has great timing.
So they filmed this movie with all these, and then and also like things like Don at one point is like, I don't want to say this whole long line. I'm just going to do what I always do. And I'm going to say, oh, I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you. And the director is like losing his mind. He's like, whatever, just say it into the microphone. I don't care. And so then they show a preview screening of the movie after they've like finished filming it all. And it just kills in the worst way because everybody thinks it's the funniest thing in the world. They're all laughing, but of course it's not supposed to be funny. And I mean, the line wasn't better, but it was better than him going, I love you, I love you, I love you. And so the audience is like cracking up when it plays in the movie theater. And so he's like, so the movie just comes to this point where it's like he's a laughing stock. It seems like his career's over. and that this is like the end, and it's after the opening, and where are they actually? That's always my question: is where does Good Morning happen? It's like
somebody's house, one of their houses,
one of their huge
mansions.
Respective. Yeah.
Another thought I had. Have you seen another movie that this was clearly inspired by? Have you seen this movie has so much fun with 20s fashion. Like, you've so many women in those caps, like those beautiful like 20s flapper, like, and everybody, all the women are in these incredible outfits that are very like 20s style. Have you seen True Stories, which is another on my
I love True Stories.
That's a top. Does that count as musical? It counts as like,
because the songs were written for that movie. So I have to say, I don't see why not. Honestly,
it would be on my top 5 movie musicals.
That's a good one.
I would say the sequence when they have the song, and I think this is when they switch to sound. They have the song about all the women's dresses.
The beautiful girls.
I was like, this is beautiful girls. I was like, this is Dream Operator.
Right.
This is the Dream Operator sequence.
And it's like, that's what fashion shows used to be, is that they would just like have the women just kind of stand there and it'd be filmed kind of, and then they would like be in these poses for like how you would use the outfit. Right. And so that's like what it was. And so that's kind of the end of that montage. It's like this was them, and it's like that. And so the reason that this definitely counts as a musical, and why I love it, more, or not more, because I haven't watched enough of the classic ones, but as opposed to movies where the songs kind of happen and they're like just somebody performing a song and it's a nice song, but it's not really germane to the story or anything like that, is that all these songs are integrated. They're doing something
they're
actually,
generally diegetic. Sorry to interrupt.
Not
generally,
always.
not always.
Actually,
not always.
It's like
they
50-50.
start out as diegetic, and then it stops as the movie progresses.
It's like 50-50 actually. There's some and people don't know diegetic is like, that's the song is actually happening. Like the song that happens at the party is a diegetic performance, because that's the in the world of the show, there's a performance happening that you're watching or whatever. Shit, where was I?
Yeah, sorry.
No, it's okay. So it's after the movie is a big bomb, and they're at Don's house or someone's house, and they've just been up like commiserating all night, and he's like, I guess I'll just have to go back to vaudeville. And then they're like, oh, well, why can't you just go back to being in vaudeville? And that's what Donald O'Connor says. He's like, come on, like, you can still do song and dance things. And he's like, but this movie's going to ruin my career. Because it's that bad. It's like people were walking out of the movie saying it's the worst movie they've ever seen. And so he's like, and so then Donald O'Connor suggests, well, why don't we just make it a musical? Just completely cut the thing to shreds, re-edit it, film some new stuff, cut the bad stuff, and just turn it into a musical. And this is my favorite. I mean, it's obviously like the high point of the movie, because it's Good Morning, Good Morning into Singin' in the Rain. I mean, like, those are the two big numbers. And the reason I think that is not just that they're great songs and that they're great numbers, but it's the reason for those songs to exist are so clear. It's the giddy energy of being at your lowest point, and then having that idea, and then having people like joining in your excitement, and that contagiousness is so awesome. And like, it's also the first time that you see all three of, and actually the only time that all three of them dance together in unison. Yep. And it is the coolest thing, because
it's a spectacular song. The dancing is just phenomenal.
Because like, they are completely in sync. They are completely in sync. Not a missed step, at least in what we see, because that was like, It took over like 24 hours to film or something continuous. Like,
Yeah,
it
it's
was
like
an insane
probably
shoot.
like meticulous
Right.
like editing and
Gene
a
Kelly
million
like
takes
screaming and whatever, you know, and
like
Stanley
every time
Donen.
Debbie Reynolds is
Yeah.
like half a second off, it's just like cut
Debbie-
this fuck
they're
like,
like, "Wait,
just
we need to-
screaming at her.
Can we get wardrobe in here to towel off Debbie's blood all over her feet? They're getting she's tracking blood all over the floor.
Yeah, it's like Donald O'Connor like slips and breaks
Right.
his leg
on
in
Debbie's
blood.
blood.
Yeah.
But they are all completely in sync. But they each of them dances in a completely different way that really typifies their character. And like Donald O'Connor is like goofball, like this is all like just a joke, and he's just like making it all like a goof, and it's great. Debbie Reynolds is like bright-eyed, big smile, and then like innocence, just like, and it's so like great. And then Gene Kelly is that like sort of effortless cool, and he also has a smile, but it's like
It's as you were
and that's kind of like I know of like Gene Kelly's a classic thing is he kind of would like lean back because it's like, or like his head would kind of like tip back because it's like, you know, this is cool, this is easy. And it's just a great number. And also Don and Kathy are like a couple at this point, like they are basically, but they're having to hide it. They don't want to be in public because, you know, Lena's gonna flip out and it could hurt his career, especially when he's in this movie with her that they're trying to promote or whatever. So anyway, then they get to making the movie better, and then they film that. So they go to the next day to, sorry, I skipped something. I skipped the
Singing
title.
in the Rain.
I skipped the title song. Because, I mean, it's
what more could be said about
people
it?
know
It's
that.
incredible.
You've seen the number. You've seen it. Even if you haven't seen this movie, even if you haven't seen the clip of the song, you've seen the number. Because
if you've watched like the
Oscars, most parodied,
it's in every,
the most referenced. I mean, there are two. If people want to reference like a dance number or choreography number, there are two things they're going to reference. They're going to reference West Side Story because they can always do that. They can always, like, that's very iconic, the Jerome Robbins choreography. Or they are going to do Singing in the Rain, the number Singing in the Rain. Because also you just need one person, an umbrella, and, like, it's clear because it's just so iconic. But, well, two things. One of the things is that Good Morning has been sung to children to wake them up for, like, since this movie came out. My mom was like, my mom used to sing that to us to wake us up. So parents have been singing that to wake their kids up since this movie came out, and it's fake news. It's fucking fake news because that song is not about waking up. The song is about staying up all night and it being morning. It's bullshit. Bullshit.
Yeah, he says
it's great to stay up late. That's what happens after Good Morning.
Wow, this was one of the best March 23rds of all time. And it's like, actually, it's March 24th or whatever. Yeah,
because like Wimsky says, it's like 3 a.m. And so it's the middle of the night, and they're like, it's the morning, and it's that feeling of, you know, yesterday was like this horrible low, but now it's a good morning. They have this great idea, and also it's been raining the entire night. Like it was raining when they got to the premiere, and so he says goodbye to Kathy, and now he's outside, and it's pouring down rain, but like you see that he just like has like this new lease new lease on life. And so that's what this song comes out of. And that's why, again, like it's not just that they're great songs with great choreography. It's that they think like Comden and Green, whoever, like really like thought about how to make these songs really sing. And again, they were taking existing songs. Like this is almost like the Moulin Rouge of its day, kind of, right?
Right.
Because especially since songs from musicals and movie musicals were sort of the popular songs of the day too. So it's very much like
popular
Moulin Rouge.
movies of the day. This is it's the Avengers. Like,
well, my mom was saying that like she remembered when she flew to Spain with her family in the 70s when they moved there, that on the plane that they watched the movie That's Entertainment, which was just like literally, it was just like a montage. It was like a movie that was just like greatest hits of movie musicals. So she's like, so I saw a lot of the like some of the numbers were in there, but like she's like, I don't know if I've seen this movie. But so it's the
how about Singing in the Rain could have gone on for 5 or 6 more minutes a cop ended it. You know, like we could have had a lot more fun.
Yeah.
But a sworn officer comes in and says, "Excuse me, sir, you're not allowed to play in the rain here. You're gonna have to go home."
You can't have. We can't allow frivolity. That's why musical theater is official.
Gene Kelly says ACAB.
Musical theater is pretty consistently ACAB, actually. I mean, like G. Officer Krupke. Like, I'm trying to think of like a sympathetic cop in a musical, and I'm struggling. I can't actually think of one. So there you go. Another reason that musical theater is good, actually. Musicals say ACAB. Anyway, they go to RF and they pitch him the movie, and the number that they like pitch is this big dance number called Broadway Melody, and that is sort of the biggest and most ambitious like number that
this is like the Gene Kelly gets to do what he wants.
Gene Kelly like Make-A-Wish or something. It's like he gets paired with,
and it has nothing to do with the movie that they're making. That's the funniest thing about it, is that this sequence is just like, yeah, fuck it, whatever. Like, just do what you want.
Well,
like, you pick this song.
It is just like a classic dance number, but the dance number does have a story in and of itself of like,
oh yeah, no, absolutely,
Gene Kelly being like a young idealist who just wants to dance or whatever, and then gets swept up and becomes a huge star or whatever.
No, I'm saying it has nothing to do with the movie, like the movie within the movie, which is about.
Oh yeah. Oh no, that is true.
Like romance,
right? It's like a
set in like
the Dancing Cavalier.
16th century
it's called the
or some
right.
shit.
So it's like some I mean, like you saw the GIF on the break. That's like that kind of style of like, I don't even know if it's like French neoclassical or something like that they're going for. So everybody has the crazy Marie Antoinette hair and like all the kind of beauty marks or whatever. So yeah, it doesn't. You're right. It does not fit at all with the movie that they're working from.
Yeah.
But the number itself has a really cool narrative, and he pairs himself with, and this is the only thing she does in the movie, a legendary dancer, Sid Charisse. And they, oh my god! And is it her at the end of the number too? That's with the big scarf, like, you know what I'm talking about? That, because
I do, and I don't know
that part of it. I mean, like, the entire thing is incredible, and one of my favorite parts is when he like goes into that room that's like the big like pink room, and everybody is wearing the brightest colored suits with patterns, which actually
another 20s thing,
right? Is a classic
thing.
Black and white thing of, you know, you need to have very bright colors to get that contrast in the grays. So that
like the famous Addams Family set photo.
Oh yeah.
Like if you see the set of the Addams Family, like the sitcom, it's like very bright and garish, and you're like, wait, that doesn't make any fucking sense.
Is it pink? What color is it? Is it like, or is
it's
it like green?
I think bright yellow or something. It like, but yeah, you can look if you just Google Addams Family set photo, like you'll see
full
it.
color.
It's just wild.
Yeah. But that part of it is so cool. I also, I really wanted to play that, but also I couldn't anyway because my computer's still having fucking video card issues. But I did link on my Twitter, because you can't find just the number as it is, at least not on YouTube. But somebody did take the Broadway Melody, except every time somebody sings dance, it like doubles in speed or whatever. So every time he's like, gotta dance. Well, what's really funny is that there's long periods of time where nobody says dance. And so by the time it gets to that part, like really slow part of it, that's really cool, where there's a fan and a whole thing. It's going really fast and it's very funny. Anyway, the movie comes together. They have a premiere. Oh, and then they have to like make her a big villain, where she has her whole villainous turn of Lena Lamont, where she now wants it. I completely missed the whole plot point of the whole fun part of the movie. Is that what are they going to do about one of their stars is a total turd. She's terrible, and she is
her voice is really
like,
obnoxious.
She can't,
and it won't work.
Yeah, she can't figure it out. And they're like, well, Kathy's got a great voice. Let's just have her dub everything that she does.
Yep.
And so that's what they do. And so she sings her songs and everything. And then eventually Lena Lamont finds out about it, and she comes with Rita Moreno in tow. So not everyone in this movie is dead. At least one person, Rita Moreno, is alive. Because she has a very small bit part. She comes in with Did you even know that?
Rita Moreno is in this, and it's like just a tiny role.
It's like
it's so
I didn't even
funny.
know and like so many people aren't credited. Like her diction coach, who has like a lot of scenes, a lot of funny scenes. Like Lena Lamont's diction coach is not credited.
Yeah.
but Rita Moreno is for this one scene. Anyway, there's a big blow up about it, and at first she's really mad, but then she says, "Well, that's fine." But then this is all that she does now. This is her career now. Is she's going to dub me forever. And she goes to the producer. She's like, I'm not going to do that to her. And she's like, well, blah, blah, blah. And it's a whole big fight. And she's like, and anyway, they have the premiere. And then and it's really funny because it's a great framing device. And it's a great like bit of symmetry because it's, in fact, it's a 180 because the scene in the beginning that's after the movie's just ended and they're coming back out to applause and stuff is like you see them like from the perspective of you're looking from the stage to the wings, so you see them like go and then come back and then go and come back, and this time it's flipped the other way, so you see them the stage is like in the background, and so they're coming back and they'll have a bit of the fight and then the applause will crescendo and they'll have to come out and do a bow and they're coming back up.
I loved that.
Yeah.
It's such a funny.
It's
bit.
a great little
so
symmetry in the movie and framing and callback almost. But then what's funny is that, whereas in the first scene they're like trying to keep her from talking, she's like having a fit. She's like, no, I'm gonna say what I want to say. I'm a big star. So she goes out there and they're like, all right. And they start to stop. Somebody starts to stop her and then somebody's like, no, let her go.
Yeah.
Let her go. And they just basically make the decision that they're gonna let her bury herself. Just like. And people are like, you didn't sound like that in the picture. And they're like, the audience is immediately like, what's happening? And then, but somebody finally just, well, just sing us a song. Sing us one of the songs or whatever. And so
when she does that, then Kathy goes back and covers for her, but then they raise the curtain to reveal that she was the secret voice.
Another part of the movie one part of the movie that's just like kind of annoying is that they also make it so like another bit of conflict is injected into it because like Gene Kelly doesn't fully let Kathy in on the plan.
No, she feels like shit. It's a terrible thing to do.
He's
to
like,
her.
go out there and sing right now. She's like, I'll do it.
I'll never forgive you for this.
She goes, yeah, I'll do it, but I'll never talk to you again. And she's like, and she like goes, and then they raise the curtain and the audience howls laughing and she still has no idea what's happening, and then finally Donald O'Connor jumps behind her and he starts singing, and that's when she finally is like, oh wait, something's going on, and it's very funny. And then Kathy tries to run away and Gene Kelly says, no, that's the woman you've heard tonight. Oh, and everybody loves it, and it's beautiful. And then then
we see a big poster with the two of them for Singing in the Rain.
Their next movie, it's called Singin' in the Rain. And then there's another thing that I love is because an old movie it says the end, and then that's it.
That's it.
No
I was waiting
that.
for more, and then I was like, oh, did HBO Max like cut it off? And I'm like, no, I don't think so.
No, the credits. It's a credits in the beginning. It's an old movie, folks.
Yeah.
Basically, what can we say about this movie that we haven't already? We've gone very long because this is one of the best.
I mean, there's so much more, but we've been going along. But I mean, it's just an incredible movie, and I'm glad that you've now it's in your world because it is.
So I will say,
it is so spectacular.
I mean, I'm working on my list. Also, Spanker Prime. My buddy Emilio asked earlier about what's considered a musical or not. So I do have a set of criteria that I'm still working out. And things are getting eliminated based on that or not. Generally, I want songs that are worked into the narrative of the movie, either not all diegetic or they at least serve another role of commenting on they are like cabaret basically. Those are all technically diegetic, but the songs are also commenting on like sort of what's happening in the story. And it's just tied to the narrative basically. Like I don't want music biopics. Like where you just hear, or even like The Commitments or something like that, where it's like about a band, but like they're playing the songs. It's not. I'm not considering that a musical. So I have.
True stories counts.
True Stories is going to have to count. I can't eliminate that based on anything because, yeah, they're a band.
I saw that for the first time last year, and I was
I saw it
so
a few years
upset
ago.
I hadn't seen it earlier.
You did not know John Goodman was once so hot, but he was.
My teddy bear. What is it that he says? It's like my teddy bear type body or whatever. Oh my god.
Oh my god, his singing "People Like Us" is so good. Ugh.
Funny, just so funny and
Like
incredible.
Ugh,
Yeah,
I love it.
Anyway,
yeah, no, that's a. You know, man, we'll have to have you back on to talk True Stories, possibly. Oh, actually, my friend Marissa also loves True Stories. She loves John Goodman in that movie. And David Byrne is really fun, and he directed it too. And it's a very weird, very David Byrne kind of movie.
I haven't watched the thing they put on that they put on HBO Max.
Oh no, you have to do that immediately. You have to do that immediately.
Yeah,
you have to do that immediately.
Everybody, American Utopia.
Yeah.
I haven't watched it yet. Everybody says it's good though.
Yeah.
And I mean, I like David Byrne's great. So
and we stand.
I'm sure it will be wonderful.
We stand the backup singers/dancers in that. I mean, that goes without saying. You will feel that way. I don't even need to. Like, it's not going to be an issue. They're incredible. And also, just David did such a great job. David, we're on a first name basis. Can see me the whole thing. Singing in the Rain. If you haven't seen it, what are you waiting for? It's on HBO Max. Go watch it. It's so fun and funny
it's just
and
joyous.
Right.
It's joyous and fun. Like the jokes are all
and
still
smart.
Funny.
The last thing I wanted to say about this, because another LA movie that uses a bunch of songs that already existed to tell a story that I talked about recently, that is also about hearkening back to an old time, was Rock of Ages. And I said on the episode, because there's a lot of really great stuff about Rock of Ages, namely Tom Cruise, and I said on that episode to Molly Lambert that if the movie was just 10 to 20%. Oh yeah, you got to listen to that.
I haven't talked to her in a long time. Holy shit, she's great.
She's awesome. That episode was so much fun. But I said that if that movie was 10 to 20% smarter, it would have been because as it is now, it's there's some fun, good stuff about this, and then there's some stuff that's not as good. It's kind of like a mixed bag. If they had recast Julianne Hough, and then the script was 10 to 20% smarter, and the level that I'm talking about is Singin' in the Rain, because it's not trying to be the most clever thing in the world, but it has a clear point of view. It knows the sort of angle it's taking on this, and it's consistent in that, and it does it really well. And that's it knows what it's doing, and it does it really well, and it does a lot too. So
I haven't seen that. I'll have to check that out.
It's not. Well, I mean, I will say.
Yeah.
Tom Cruise deserved an Oscar nomination for Rock of Ages. I will say that. He is in a different movie from everyone else because he's just on another level. But he is incredible in it. All right, folks.
Yeah.
This is maybe one of the longest episodes, but Ben,
I'm sorry.
It's no. I love it. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Next week, we will have my very good friend, great friend of the show, Jack Keogh. You may remember him from the marathon. Jack joined me for Passing Strange and Caroline or Change. And we're supposed to be talking about Sideshow, but I have not been able to find a good slime tutorial. So if somebody can find me that, I don't want a community theater is the only thing. I can find that, but I don't want that. I want some level of professional production. I mean, I guess we could also just listen to the soundtrack, but or we'll do something else. We're still figuring it out. I think it's going to be Sideshow, a very fun show. Ben, thank you again for being here.
What a delight. What a delight.
Check out Ben's Twitch. Check out his comic. Check out his Twitter. Anything else you'd like to plug?
No, that's all. Yeah. Follow me if you want to see me. Tweet angrily at my mayor.
You got a real stinky one, I gotta say. He's in Chicago.
If you want to see me angrily tweet at public officials, you'll love my Twitter. But my Twitch is more fun, as is my comic.
But more like Lori Heavy Hand.
Yeah, good job.
All right.
You did it.
We're gonna leave it at that. Until next time, folks. Well, actually, sorry. In conclusion, musical theater, I would say, good. Actually, we have to, in conclusion. And certainly as true now as it was in 1952. I wish we could make more movies like this. And this is, if we could go for another half hour, what I would talk about, but we're not going to, is that I wish that this was more like, not that every star would have to be able to do this, but that there was more of a bench of people, and for film, because it's a totally different thing than for stage. And so, and Hollywood actors that are taught for film acting and then they like not now sing, it's a completely different thing. And so like we've just totally lost people that specialization, and that's so much of the reason that modern movie musicals I think aren't special like this, is because it's so hard to find the people.
I thought a million times watching this, I was like, we don't, like, what a shitty thing, like what an obnoxious thought, like it's such a boring thought. But I had like the dad thought of it's like, I don't make movies like this anymore.
No, and I'll tell you what, if they try to remake this, like I mean, if they want to do like a live televised version, I'm fine, whatever. But if they try to do like a major studio like West Side Story like style like remake of this, I'm not gonna have it, because they're not gonna have a Gene Kelly. They won't. It doesn't.
There aren't.
Anymore.
Where are the Freds? Where's the Genes?
Not that can do it in a film screen, because dancing for the stage is totally different. And so like it's
well, and Gene wasn't he the choreographer for the film?
No, he's co-director and choreographer.
Yeah, so it's like he had like a filmic idea of it. Like obviously they're spectacular dancers today, obviously.
That's okay. Emilio, definitely true. It shouldn't be made because James Corden would end up in it. That's true.
Oh no,
that's true. Golden Globe nominee for The Prom. James Corden. Folks.
It's pretty funny in that episode of Doctor Who. That's all I got. All right.
We're going to end it here because I will keep going. I already did one false ending, and I'm not going to do any more. Okay. Ben, thanks again for being here. Everybody join us next week, every Saturday at 8. Theater's always at 8. We'll see you next time. I love you.